Welcome to the Taproxy Method, creating confident learners. The Taproxy Method uses a unique combination of breath work, brain-body work, gratitude, and a clay-based program to affect the neuroplasticity of the brain in students, to help strengthen their mind-body connection, help them develop a growth mindset, and most importantly, trust and confidence in themselves. Welcome to another episode of the Taproxy Method, creating confident learners. I'm Tani Taproxy, the founder and creator. At the end of the last episode, we looked at gratitude. So today we'll dive a little deeper into this foundational topic. Before we get started, I wanted to share that I have a free assessment video that I'd love to share with you, where I walk you through a simple process in reading to figure out what type of learner your child is. I use this with every student when I first meet them to give me a sense of whether they are more of a visual or phonetic learner. To receive this free gift, sign up for my newsletter at pages.tanitutors.com/newsletter. As soon as you sign up, you'll receive it in your inbox. So let's get started. So I left you at the end of episode 1 with the question, what 3 grateful things can you list for today? And once you have them, how does that feel in your body? And at the end of the last episode, I asked about 3 small things rather than these huge things, just to check in and to see how it makes you feel. So just to give you an example, for me today, I'm grateful I got a chance to spend some time in the sun and read Dr. Hyman's new book, Forever Young. I'm grateful that I completed a task that uses this new challenging skill of audio editing that I haven't quite mastered, but I'm getting there. And that I had this morning off to go drink my coffee at the bluffs and overlook the waves and the surfers and just enjoy my morning before starting in the day. So when I check in with my body, where do I feel this? I feel grounded. I feel settled, especially my heart. And then my legs are a little heavy and I just feel in my body. I feel at ease and there's this grounded feeling. So why is this important? And why is it important for academics? So typically when we're taught about gratitude, we're taught to notice the really big things that come up every once in a while, or, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, but also like family and food and houses. And while these things are wonderful, when we start to focus and learn how to notice the small things with our perception, the brain starts noticing these things as well more easily and consistently. And we can actually affect the way we feel. So by just doing this exercise for ourselves and seeing if and how it made you feel differently, maybe a little bit more present, maybe a little bit more calm or easeful, we can start to see why this is important for children to feel this way too, especially before we start to look at academics. And this whole idea of making yourself more comfortable with things, of this feeling of gratitude, of living in this space, 51% of the time in your life, it changes the ability to be present. It changes the ability to be at ease and at calm and focused. And it changes our perception. I just want to do a little exercise with you to start. I want you to look around where you are, and I want you to notice everything that is white. Just notice how everything white starts to pop out because you've put your attention there. The perception has changed. So for me, I see my whiteboard, see the top of a marble jar, the trim along the door and the windows, the problem of the day sheet just starts to pop out and I start to notice. Now I want you to switch your attention and notice everything that is black. Notice where your attention goes, what starts to pop out, and then try it for red, green, brown, yellow. And you'll start to notice, you'll see that what you put your attention on, it actually changes what you perceive. So especially for me, if I start to look for the red things, the heart on the board, the baskets that contain some of my number math stuff starts to pop out, the binding on a math book, the tops of the erasers. I love this exercise because it just shows us how our thoughts will actually change our perception so clearly. Our brain is completely filtering out based on what we believe and feel and how present we are or not present. We could drive to work completely unpresent and not remember anything that we just did. Or they even say that a parking spot can be right in front of you and you won't even see it. You won't even notice it because you have decided that there's no parking spots. It's just insane what the brain will perceive and remember and so forth. It's always filtering out. There's too much information for us to process on all the senses. So we can start to direct our senses and change what we see. So again, maybe try this with your child and see what they start to notice and see. So the reason I consider gratitude foundational work is that when we get to that place as adults, when our students get to that place of being comfortable and positive 51% of the time, it starts to be uncomfortable to be critical and negative. And when they're positive, any material that is challenging, because the definition of academics is not knowing most things, right? We're learning something new. And anything challenging, whether it's in life or in school, they're able to approach it more head on without the critical doubts in their head, right? So then we're starting to just deal with the academic challenge at hand and not the negativity, not the self-critical negative talk, not kind of that shutting down behavior or lack of focus, because we've been over time building this skill of being grateful, of being present and being embodied. So for me, every time a student sees me twice a week or so, they come in and they tell me 3 grateful things. So this skill, this muscle has become a habit. It's become consistent, something that they just know. And then from that solid foundation, we can focus on academics. I have a couple examples just kind of from recently. One student I've had, he's had him for about a year and a half a school year and then this full school year. And he was doing something simple. I think he was completing a class assignment or maybe typing. So nothing very rigorous, but I just made a comment. Oh yeah, you're almost done. You can do it. And he exclaimed, "You believe in me. I have somebody who believes in me." And I was like, "Of course I do." And just these like little conversations, because we have created this container of positivity, but also the ability to perceive the positivity, to perceive the confidence, to hear that I have confidence in him. I never doubted him, but for him to notice and receive that is where the gold is. I have another student who've had about the same amount of time. He's much younger. And he had a disappointment. One of his friends was not coming back in the time frame that they were supposed to. There was a family thing. And so he was looking forward to his friends coming back on island and being able to see them. And he was a little sad when he came to see me. And I asked him, of course, I'm like, "Hey, life is challenging. Sometimes things are hard. And this is where finding those 3 grateful things is important. Even on the days where we don't feel as grateful, we can still look for those little things." And he was able to switch gears immediately and list 3 things. And I just saw his body language change, his thought change, his ease in his body, right? He's like, "Oh yeah, I have things to look forward to. Even though I am disappointed," which life gives us things that we get disappointed about, "I can still come back to this skill." And, I have every child list the grateful things that they come to see me. It does help that I have my dog Harper here, who is an easy lead whenever kids are struggling. I'm like, "Well, what about Harper?" She usually makes their list every time. But it's not that they know it immediately, but because we've been doing this for so long, it becomes this skill, this ease, and you see an immediate light in the eyes, immediate change in the body, even on the days that's hard. I had another kid kind of a moment butting heads with his parents, and he's like, was really honest. He's like, I'm not feeling this. He's a little older here. And I said, "Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes life is challenging, life is hard. But even in this moment, this is where the real work comes in. Where can I still look? Where can I still reach?" And he was able to do it. And again, his whole mood, his whole demeanor changed. And he noticed too. He's a teenager. So he's like, "Oh, okay." So these things become habits. They become consistent. Remember, I do this every time they see me. We do 3 grateful things. We do 2 different types of breath work. And then we go into problem of the day where I do a little thing about math just to check in to reinforce a number sense thing, not a whole lesson, but we go from there. And then we go on to the academics, whatever is needed for the day, whether they're here to strengthen one of their core subjects, reading, math, writing, spelling, or if they have some homeschool or schoolwork that they need support in or projects and so forth. But, the first 5-10 minutes of the time with me, we are doing these foundational life skills. And it just changes the way that we get to interact with the academics. And this is not something that we naturally do when we're trying to change a thought process. If we have a really negative core thought, or we're used to thinking in one way, when we're starting something new, if gratitude is brand new and we're trying to get from A to B and think of 3 things, it can feel a lot like you're on a bumpy dirt road, right? This new thought is completely new. But if you keep on practicing this muscle of gratitude, that bumpy road then becomes a street. And it eventually becomes a highway. And then eventually it becomes a freeway where it's just natural, right? And then in the body, when some gratitude becomes natural, there is that shift into a physical ease of the body, right? We can affect the body with the brain and thought process and vice versa. And then the whole importance of this is that when we have a positive outlook, when kids have a positive outlook, that when they become embodied, this helps with confidence, but also their self-esteem. And why do we need this confidence and self-esteem to do academics? Well, we have to believe that we can, right? If we believe we can't, then, it's fighting an uphill battle, pushing a rock up the hill, pretty much. But in addition to that, another way to make or create self-esteem is to keep small promises to ourselves or themselves. So when a kid says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to finish this task, I did the thing I said I was going to do, whatever it is, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, every time we keep a promise to ourselves, we're building self-esteem. And every time a kid keeps the promise of this one little assignment, whether it's something easy like cursive or typing or one math page, it's I kept the promise, I finished this for myself. And they get this bank of successes. When they get banks of successes, their confidence and their self-esteem is increased, right? So every little academic success increases self-esteem, increases confidence as well. But we can start and give them foundational work to make that process easier. And when they have a whole list of personal successes, then they'll start to take on other things. I have kids who, bring it into their music, into their arts, into their sports, and they're just performing better because they're more at ease with themselves. So again, over my 2 decades of teaching at this point, these are foundational practices, but they actually change the chemistry and wiring of the brain and the body and make academics more accessible. So when we're giving them the life skills of being present and therefore more focused, we're relieving stress and anxiety, and we're building this confidence, which is the key to being able to do well in academics, right? So academics is not just learning, it's how do I approach this stuff? I do believe in teaching these life skills first to affect the brain and the nervous system so that we can do the real work of academics with the right skill set and tools. Again, I start every session with gratitude and breath work. And then from the foundation, we move on to academics. So the first episode, we looked at the foundation, building a solid foundation on rock rather than sand, giving the kids the tools that they need, having a connection into the brain, being focused, being embodied, which led to this idea of gratitude. Again, I do breath work and gratitude every time they see me. So 3 grateful things. And then we do the breath work that supports the neuroplasticity of the brain. Neuroplasticity is just the fancy term for the brain communicating well, right? Learning something new, being neuroplastic, being able to mold and meld into any subject or any challenge at hand. So in episode 3, we will start to look at the breathwork practices that I bring in for kids and to help them become more confident. But the cool thing about breathwork is that it actually changes the physiology of the brain, which is so interesting. Thanks so much for listening. Before I go, I wanted to share that I have a free assessment video that I'd love to share with you, where I walk you through a simple process in reading to figure out what type of learner your child is. I use this with every student when I first meet them to give me a sense of whether they're more of a visual or phonetic learner, as it helps better prepare me on what tools are best to use moving forward. To receive this free gift, sign up for my newsletter at pages.tawnitutors.com/newsletter. As soon as you sign up, you'll receive it in your inbox. If you're interested, follow me on Instagram and Facebook at The Taproxy Method. I also take on a very few select private one-on-one clients worldwide for homeschool support and tutoring work. Email me at tawny.taproxy@tawnitutors.com. Have a blessed day and aloha.